Hello, everybody, and welcome to ITU Presents. We are joined by Dr. Sam Swapn, the CEO and founder of Strategism Incorporated, which is a training and consulting firm that's been around for well over a decade. Dr. Sam Swapn has worked in healthcare, has worked in banking, has worked in a number of different industries. He has a deep knowledge of quantum computing, among other things. And so what he's going to do today is he's going to bestow upon you some knowledge and some latest hot technology. So without further ado, Dr. Sam Swapn, I just want to say thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much, Jake, for having me here. I'm really excited and look forward to talking to everybody and sharing my 2 cents.
Thank you very much. Please proceed. So the floor is yours, Dr. Sam Swapn. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Jake, for the nice introduction. Friends, like Jake, I have this interesting habit. I sit on the interface of academia and practice. So what I learn from books and knowledge, I bring it to the industry. And what I learn from the industry, I take it back to the classroom and say, hey, how is that going to really translate into concepts and I can theorize? So that is the section I really enjoy being in. So I'm very happy to talk to all of you today. And the thing about me is that my sessions are very interactive, and normally I like to stand in front of a board and draw some things and dance in the class and have fun, and it's very exciting. My 3-hour class, my students don't take a break and go away. So I want to keep it that way here. How many people say yes? I want a lady I can see her. She wants to say yes. Do you? So my point is ask questions, because teaching is very boring. I'm not a good teacher. I'm a bad teacher, but I'm a good talker. Storytelling, and people relate to visuals, and people relate to chit chat. So I call it my teaching style chit chat format. And that's what I'm known in Silicon Valley for, and I get invited by Google and Facebook to deliver talks. So friends, so today's talk is going to be about the latest hot technology called quantum computing. Now, before I get dabbling into the subject, I want to talk to you, and I want to ask you, when you think quantum computing, I know maybe some of you are experts or working on it at different levels. What comes to your mind? What does the word throw in terms of ideas and imagination? Anybody and everybody is right. So any answer is fine. Come on. Say something.
Well, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Go on. How are you doing today?
Good, Professor. Nice to meet you. I am definitely not an expert on the subject, but when I listen to quantum computing, the first thing that comes to my mind is a computer system that has extreme capacities or abnormal capacities to analyze a very big amount of information in a very few lapse of time.
Awesome, fantastic. I love the word where you said abnormal, because normality is what we know, what is normal today, right? The standard deviation that we create and said this is normal. And now we are used to computers, which we have around us. We take one of those and sit in a Starbucks in Silicon Valley, in Palo Alto, and show off our Apple machine, which we think is the most smartest thing to do, and sip our coffee, right? But imagine if this could be a million times than what we have. Not one time, million times. And that's why the word quantum comes in there. Normally when we use the word in common language, the word quantum means, quantum leap, quantum jump, which is significant from what we're doing today globally to the next level, and it will kind of be not just a paradigm shift, it is a disruptive shift, which completely sets a new standard or a new normal. And that's the theory, but the practice is, hey, what does it mean? How is it going to change life? It's going to change a life many, many times. So that's the focus of the talk today. And can everybody see my presentation here, friends? What future will bring? All right, so if I move this on, this is the slide I have that I want to talk about to everybody. So friends, quantum computing, now I'm getting little slightly technical, but the idea is that it is nothing else but is quantum states. So the word quantum, when we say, what does it mean? I mean, of course, I gave you a generic sense, but it also means something which can be quantified, something which is a quanta, the word. For example, a system, right, that a lot of us work on, it is tangible, right? It is not something which is abstract or something which is amorphous. It has a form. It has in object-oriented programming, we call it objects. Basis, the mother language. We need objects. So some similar is quantum. Right? Quantum is the minimum size, tangible, which can be used and create something awesome. And that's what our friend said, that something to do abnormal.
I think we may have lost our speaker there. Is anybody else not able to see Dr. Sam?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, I cannot see him.
Okay, I think he'll probably log back on. Were you able to hear what he was saying, or were you having difficulty hearing what he was saying?
It's kind of
It was a
breaking.
little difficult. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was breaking
it was
on
a
and off.
problem.
Okay, he's back. Welcome back. I think you're on mute. Let me see here. Dr. Sam Swapna is back, but you're on mute now, sir. I think your audio is off. I think his audio is still off. Grace, maybe you can call him and let him know that his audio was off.
Hello, everybody.
Yay, you're back.
Yeah, sorry.
So I think when you were on your last slide, some of that conversation got lost. So
Okay,
maybe you could go to that last slide that you were on.
So friends, this is exactly the point. What happened just now will go away once quantum computing comes, because
Correct.
right now the latency you said, or you saw the disturbance in the signal, taking away the wonderful conversation you're having. But once quantum computing comes in, the speed of data transfer will be so high. So you can imagine millions of times more data getting across more quickly, right? So this is exactly the problem that happened will be solved by quantum computers. Does it make sense? Do you agree? So friends, we were talking about the quantum states, and we said, hey, when there's a quantum jump in our systems, that is when we will see something new happening. And what will be that new thing? That new thing will be the new computers that will come. So you will not be walking away with an Apple system with you. You will be having computer which will be completely millions of times smarter than what you have today. How does it sound? You have to talk to me so that I know that we are able to communicate and you are listening and engaged, and the talk is also going on. Hello, everybody.
I think everybody, some people are in spaces where the audio is a little loud, so I think a lot of people are muted, but they're definitely listening. Sure, I'm looking at people's faces and they're definitely engaged.
Awesome, very good, very good. So friends, that is at a high level the definition of the word quantum computing. Computing at quantum levels. And what does it mean? If you read at the bottom, a computer today, has about, let's say, a maximum time it takes 600 million years to generate some set of outputs. A quantum computer or a processor will do that in 20 seconds. That is the finding, the latest finding from the university group in December 20. So imagine something which a normal computer today can do in 600 million years will be done in 20 seconds. How does it sound? Exciting? Fun? So that's what I'm talking about.
Scary.
So that's what I'm talking about. Now, how is that going to happen? It is going to happen, and what are those properties that will make it happen? So today's computers are designed on 0 and 1. We all know, right? Some of us work in computer science, and we know as a business student or a computer science student that 0 and 1 binary bits. So what happens with quantum computing? Well, this 0, 1, does it stay there? It goes away. Well, the beauty is that it stays there, 0 and 1 still there, but they can process exponentially more data, right? And how does that happen? Because the concept is called the qubits. The bits and bytes that we know in computers, 0 and 1, binary, they are there, but they operate in quantum bits, qubits. Quantum bits are qubits, which means that they not only are separate. In real life, it says 0 or 1. Tell me, what is it, right or wrong? 0 or 1. But here, there's one more dimension of it, which is 0 and 1. Are you kidding me? 0 and 1 together? Yeah. What does that mean? It means that the 0 and 1 gets entangled. And there is superposition. So there are two basic concepts, superposition and entanglement. And you see a visual there which talks about the two concepts. And how does it sound like in real life? Imagine our brains. Our brains have neurons, right? 4.5 billion neurons are there. How they function? Sometimes you're thinking something else, talking something else, doing something else. That's the capability of a human mind. Something similar will computers do. Wow, how is that possible? Right now, their program is given 0 or 1, and the computer follows it and runs it and gives an output. But in the days to come, with quantum computing, there will be entanglement, which means 0 and 1 will talk to each other. Objects will talk to each other in real time, and they will all converge to give you the information and data that you need. And they will be superposed. So if you see here, I have given a small description that, hey, normally we'd say if there is 0 and 1 combined with an ambiguity, because either you can be or you cannot be. But the key here is in quantum computing, it will both be together. So superposition will take place. So imagine a chemical reaction. Imagine the existence of the universe, the cosmos, right? The cosmos, everything is there, and sometimes you wonder how this galaxy is functioning. Likewise, the human brain is functioning. A chemical reaction, imagine hydrogen oxide, water. You take hydrogen and you take oxygen and you combine that and you create water droplets. So that chemical reaction is happening. So we can model a chemical reaction inside a lab, inside a computer. So that is what quantum computing will do. It will have a lot of objects talking to each other, one another, entangled and superposed. How does it sound, friends? Say something. Great, bad,
Give me a breakthrough.
It's a good breakthrough, right? And you said abnormal, my friend, right? So that is going to be the new normal. Something like internet happened 30 years ago, and people said, no, this is not going to go anywhere. But today, we all share not only photos and pictures, we do so much on the internet. So this is the next revolution that is going to happen, and you will see that Silicon Valley is going to be the hotbed of that. So that's why, I thought I'll talk about it and answer your questions as well. You can see that lady right now with the big computer that she's working on, that is a quantum computer. But don't get confused. So this is the current state. There are companies that are claiming, there's a company in China, they claim that they have been able to create a desktop version for $5,000. They just displayed that like 2 months ago. So it is happening, and slowly the technology, like internet happened initially in NASA. Actually, some Stanford professors used to exchange emails in 1980s and 70s before it became public in the 1990s. So that is what the potential of quantum computing is, and you can see that the market size is projected to be $200 billion in 2030. And what that means to people like yourself and me, that, hey, there's tremendous opportunity in something new. And this is my theory in life. Either be a follower and keep in the mainstream side, or become a leader and learn something new, which is the latest. Then you don't have to chase jobs. Jobs will chase you. So those of you who are very job focused, career focused, always learning something new and exciting, not only it gives you an intellectual kick to know the latest. As a knowledge worker, I and Jake were talking before you all came in that we are all knowledge workers, like Peter Drucker said. And in this knowledge society, the acquisition of knowledge can be infinite. And that is what differentiates between the extraordinary and the ordinary. The extraordinary always is hungry for knowledge in a knowledge space. So that is the first talk I wanted to have. And then moving on, do you have any questions, friends? I like to have questions and chit chat a little bit, because that's how I function. So I would be very happy if just listening to this, you got any stupid question is fine. Bhupinder, do you have a question?
Not exactly. It's a new topic for me.
How does it sound to you when you had you heard this before, that quantum computing, what it will really mean to a person like you and me?
No, it's not my area of interest. I earlier was a finance student.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Javier Cisneros, and I think, how does quantum computing will interact with AI? Is that really strictly correlated? Does quantum requires AI to work, to function, or is completely independent from it?
Awesome question, fantastic question. I love it. So AI, as we all know, friends, artificial intelligence. And what does that mean? A computer artificially can mimic the human intelligence, right? Intelligence of a human being is infinite. There's nothing smarter than us on Earth. We are the ones who have been able to put elephants 1,000 times stronger than us in a cage. Lions, anacondas, everybody in the cage, right? And the only one which is roaming around is the Homo sapiens. Otherwise, you'll find lions all around on the streets and Homo sapiens in the cage. And how did we do that? Because we're intelligent. 4.5 billion neurons work at sometimes. Very few can use the whole system. But artificial intelligence is when the computers are able to emulate what we do. And then how does the AI and quantum computing combine? Now, AI will help us because when you have the automation of systems, right, then you can do things faster. Artificial intelligence works on data sets, right? And when you have data sets already online, then it is easy to draw information from that. And then you have quantum computing, which means you are putting an icing on the cake, which means now not only you can have all these systems automated, but you can work in an artificial environment, they also have tremendous speed. One of the biggest barriers of AI today is speed, right? And lack of automation. But once everything is automated and the speed is there, that's when you see the magic happening. Because now something that you would take hours for a job to process, for a code to run, or it will break sometimes in between, it will not give you an output. It will now be done in seconds. So that answer your question, sir?
Yes, so AI can leverage on the computational power from quantum computing.
Absolutely.
So it's a different way, like we have CPUs, GPUs, and then we'll have quantum computing processing units, I guess.
Correct. Imagine a CPU that we use today versus a CPU we used 20 years ago. Do you think, and why artificial intelligence is happening now? It is happening now because
it was not ready. Exactly.
Right? 20 years ago, it was so new. The processor was so small, so big, and you had a microcomputer which was sitting inside a lab. IBM had a computer room, which was the largest computer. Now that microprocessor has bigger capacity than that whole bigger supercomputer. So, which means human beings as a race, we have been able to convert that huge machine into a microchip. And that is how AI is being held, because now AI can run those numbers and get you the output and make decisions for a bank, for a healthcare company, for the government, whoever wants to use it. Does it sound exciting, fantastic?
No, yeah, it is. It is great. I think, yeah, we will leveraging on the GPUs is one thing, but with quantum computing, I think AI is gonna, yeah, improve considerably as well. Nice. And then, so one question: these quantum computing systems will be interacting with regular storage system, or they will require other kind of storage units, so they can keep up with the data rates that these quantum processing systems need.
I think right now they call it like a QC register, right? which is kind of the registry that keeps the data. And I think that the basic concept may remain the same, but when you look at the big data, so the difference between big data, Hadoop, and all that versus an Oracle, SAP data sets was the major shift, that in all these earlier databases was RDMS, relational databases, which means there was a relationship between X and Y axis, right? But in the future, what will happen is, and what is already happening right now, is that we have modular data sets, in the sense, those of you who know about Kubernetes and modularization, you see that they're non-structured databases, no SQL, right? Likewise, the NoSQL kind of thing will grow in the future, which will form the basis for quantum computing. So that kind of answered your question?
Yeah. I'm just curious about one thing. Maybe it's like hard to predict, but when do you think we'll see quantum computing systems in a home, like currently have regular processing units?
So this is a very fantastic question. I just love it, my friend, because people are saying that it will take 10 years. But I think personally this will happen in the next 3-4 years. And I think because something which will happen in 3-4 years, this is the time to jump on it for smart people, because when you are ahead of the game, that's where you spend time learning and you get excited about it. So I think by 2025, as I said, China already has. By the way, China is ahead of the game than America in quantum computing, and they already put a desktop computer, which is a quantum computer, and it is from a startup company, and it is available for $5,000. They've just displayed it. It's not a very coherent system, and we'll talk about the notion of coherence versus incoherence. But in one word, the answer is next 3-4 years, 5 years. And the more, to answer your question, the more AI gets built, the faster will be the QC, quantum computers, because they're all interrelated. The more companies have systems which are running on automation, which means there is very less manual work, the more systems can talk to each other, right? The more systems can interact with each other and draw information from one place and transfer that information quickly to the other place. Right? Now in internet, if we have 1 second latency, we feel bad that, oh, I didn't like the presentation, the computers were not having a good signal. But 20 years ago, this was unattainable. I don't know how many of you remember AT&T and Hello World, the first few applications. The system would conk off after every few seconds. But today we are in a world where we seamlessly talk on an internet platform. With quantum computing and artificial intelligence, it will further improve many, many times, not one time, many, many times.
I see. Thank you very much.
Welcome, welcome. So Fred, moving on. So this will have applications in pharma industry, making drugs, data security, cryptography. Now, this is very important because all of us have email accounts. How many of us have email accounts and bank accounts and our healthcare accounts online? Raise your hand if you don't have it. Okay, so we all have it. I don't go to the bank anymore. I just go online and transfer money from here and there, right? That's what is happening today. But what if I told you that, hey, your password for your bank account, your email account and your iPhone will all be hacked? How would you feel? Secured or non-secured? Come on, speak it out.
Not secure. Scared.
Yeah, that's exactly
definitely not secure.
Yeah, so that's exactly what is going to happen, friends. Within a decade, the quantum computers will break the security code. And what that means is, we think that what we have created is very secure, it is highly encrypted, and we have these double authentication and triple authentication. And we say a normal human brain cannot decipher the code behind it. So it is pretty complex. But the truth is, when the computers become very fast, right? Very, very fast, like millions of times faster, then they can quickly decipher that. Does it sound logical? So that is going to happen in the future. In other words, they say that the Bitcoin is kind of something which is unhackable, but quantum computing is going to make Bitcoin hackable because the processors would function so fast and millions of data can transfer quickly. So that means that it's easy to decode. Imagine a child versus a mature man. The child is kind of very energetic, but his energy is dispersed in every direction. But versus a matured guy who has a tremendous way of accumulating and analyzing that information. Same thing these computers will do. They will accumulate and decipher information in a very intelligent, faster way. So that is another application. Human genome. So those of you who are working in the biotechnology industry, the DNA, the protein structure, the adenine, the guanine, thymine, the cytosine, all these different pieces of the protein, how are they created? The ribose nucleic acid, the DNA, the structure of the DNA, all that can be studied deeper. And that's where AI is helping too, right? But quantum computing will take a major quantum jump into that process. And that answers the question that my friend is, what will happen to AI? AI will further improve because, with quantum algorithms, we can have better machine learning tasks. The machine can learn faster because if the machine has more data to process, if the machine has more speed, will you give you a better output or a faster output? What do you think?
And also maybe there will be security running in quantum computing, so it's more secure as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Right now, the most sought after job in Silicon Valley is the ethical hacker. Why? Hey, you can hack my system, which means you're smarter than my system. You can tell me where the problem is, and then you're ethical because you're not going to take my entire money from my bank outside in Russia, but you're going to help me improve my system. So the same way, when quantum computing will come in, you'll have QC hackers, quantum computer hackers, who will hack the existing systems and point out the pitfalls, where is the code not running, and where is the lacuna which can be fixed in the security, which means a new paradigm security systems will emerge. And those security systems will be many times more complex than the current systems and will be able to protect our information more.
I have a question.
Sure.
So, given all this, wouldn't there need to be some sort of operating system, programming language, or analogies of that developed first in order for all of this to happen?
Absolutely, and I have a slide on that, and this will talk about the QC language, the quantum computer language, right? So the protocol and a system that we need for that to be built on. You're absolutely on the dot that, hey, how can you have a system without having some basic tenets of the, for example, the OOPS, the object-oriented programming system. So yes, it has its own language, it has its own, but the good thing is that it is kind of similar to what you see in terms of C, right? All these things came up from C and then C# and C++, and now you see Java from Sun Microsystems, or you see Oracle, or you see Microsoft.NET. These are different languages, but a lot of them are similar to what you saw 20 years ago in the concept of C. So something similar you will see in terms of the language and protocol. Does it answer your question, sir?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
I do have a, sorry, can I ask a question as well?
Yeah, it's all about questions, friends. I can talk for 1 or 3 hours, but go ahead, Giovanni.
Thank you. So quickly here, we're looking ahead and we're asking ourselves, where can we see this in our day-to-day quantum computing? But at the same time, we have been seeing, how quickly technologies have been evolving, and even Moore's law, it's continuously, being beaten by all these solutions that are coming up. Do you see this happening to quantum computing, that we just, right now we're seeing it at a time lapse of 10 years in the future, that it can be something deployable in our houses? Or do you think that something new will come in the next few years and will just make quantum computing obsolete?
Oh, very good question. Excellent. Sam, what is ahead of quantum computing which will make it irrelevant? Because, I learned this thing and I spent so much time and money, and then after 5 years, it became immaterial, right? For example, Hadoop, right? It was the most talked word 3 years, 4 years ago in the Silicon Valley. Today, nobody talks about Hadoop. So what happened here? That's a very intelligent question. I love it. And my 2 cents is this, friends. New technologies will keep emerging, right? And that is the quest for human knowledge. Imagine, did we ever think that Jeff Bezos will be able to go to space and come back in 11 minutes? I had no idea that. And same thing my friend Richard Branson did in 90 minutes. And let's see what Elon Musk will do. So we are in a space called infinite space, right? And those of us who really understand this is that the beauty of the computer world and the computer science and physics, just to say, is that it is infinite. So we never know what new thing will come and disrupt what we are already doing. And we should always be prepared. And we should, those of you who want to really learn are on the cusp of it and excited about learning the new things. But as of today, I do not have any word that what is going to replace quantum computing, because it has not yet happened. And this actually takes me back to a very important point that you talked about. When cloud happened, something similar happened. And there was a professor, Carl, from MIT, and he said, "Oh, you guys are talking so big, computing, computer powers. If you had a company called .com, you can make $1 million in Silicon Valley, 1990s, late 90s." And he said, Carl, then that, well, this computing will be like electricity account. You don't know where the electricity is coming from. You don't care about it. You don't need complex computers sitting in your homes, and you don't networks or data centers. You will source it from somewhere. So he called it utility computing. I'm sure some of you heard about this article. 99 was the article. And when I read it during my PhD in San Francisco, I said, wow, this is going to happen, utility computing. But look today, Amazon, AWS, doesn't even have a data center. The whole Amazon company, Netflix doesn't have its own center. Netflix runs wholly on AWS. I'm sure some of you know that, right? So Netflix completely did away with the data center and got completely on cloud. and they are using Amazon's cloud. And that's how Amazon learned about their business and said, hey, guys, they're making so much money. We can also do that in Amazon Prime and Amazon Movies and all that stuff, which is the bad side of it. But technology as an enabler is there. So I don't know the answer. I don't have any answer that what will replace or make quantum computing obsolete. But I think that quantum computing is in the nascent stage at this point and is expected to take on. And then look at the utility. The utility is that something that would take hours to do will be done in seconds, right? So something that's what they call as the computers have attained a state of supremacy, which is they're able to code and run the programs at millions of times faster than today. How does it sound?
It's very interesting. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So friends, we'll be able to do simulations faster than today. And a lot of us who work in the computer science area, we know simulation or modeling is the key to build any program. So with quantum computing, we'll be able to do that faster. And I like, friends, when you ask questions, I love it because it is not important that I give a talk, but answer your questions, because that's the main key takeaway for me and Jake here. Let me. So, can you see the slide, friends?
Yes.
So then the next question is, hey, who are the companies that are working on it? And we know that the big companies, this is Google CEO Sundar Pichai, IBM, Microsoft. Google has a center in Santa Barbara that is purely devoted for quantum computers. And Google, interestingly, they have achieved quantum supremacy. And what does that mean, quantum supremacy? So what that means is that something which a normal computer today cannot solve, let's not say cannot be solved in a reasonable time, can be done by a quantum computer that Google has, and they call it Sycamore, and which is in 53 qubits of size. Right now, the qubits that a computer has reached is about 100 qubits. IBM has 50 qubits. Now China claims 100 qubits, 68 qubits. We don't know exactly where we are, but look at the power. Google Sycamore, which is out of Santa Barbara, they have 53 qubit supercomputers. I can't even think that word. Quantum computer, which has achieved quantum supremacy. Now, what does it mean? That it is so superior that there's a quantum leap in the way it functions. And that's where we are going. So friends, these are the companies who are on the game, IBM, Microsoft, Google in the American side, and a lot of companies in the Chinese side, and of course all over the world. IBM has a network called Q Network. So those of you who are interested in joining that, it has more than 125 companies, some startups, some research labs, companies, universities, and JP Morgan Chase, ExxonMobil. These are the companies. So you can see when JP Morgan Chase gets into something, it is serious business, right? Because they run the financial industry of America. When ExxonMobil gets into something, they run the oil business in America and the world. When Walmart gets into something, they run the retail business. So that's all, right? When you wake up, what do? You go to a store, which is Walmart, then you get your gas in your car. And to get the gas, you need money, you go to the bank, ATM. So all three industries you will see will have applications and quantum computers. So that's where it is going. Like I said, China even claims that we have a $5,000 desktop quantum computer. So that really excites me because out of the 500 smartest quantum computers in the world today, 185 are coming out of China. US has an investment about $1.5 billion. European Union has the $1.5 billion, but China has $15 billion investments made already in the quantum computing space. So how does it sound, friends? Interesting, exciting? Any thoughts, ideas?
Very interesting.
Concerns? Do you want to make a career in quantum computing? Mr. Globani? Xavier?
That's very, very interesting. So here, for example,
遇到一个同事，
我现在去睡到10点才能起来。
不加10点，然后我就直接喝醉去。
Sorry, someone was talking. So you mentioned that China was ahead of the game in this. So do you think that there's a lot of collaboration going on in this area between the United States and China, or do you think that it's very compartmentalized between countries, and if so, how is that affecting the overall growth of quantum computing?
That's again a very wonderful and beautiful question, friends. As we all know that the new administration which has come in power in the United States is kind of more friendly in terms of the knowledge sharing, right? The truth is that if somebody else has more knowledge, and think about it, a lot of us who are in the software industry were not born in the United States. Elon Musk was not born in the US. Elon Musk came from South Africa, right? So smart people are global, right? The human capital is global in nature. So one part of the intelligence is to really understand and appreciate that. So if China has built this strength, American universities and American government has to facilitate, because right now what is happening is because of the Corona-19, there is a lot of problems with the universities, because some of the scientists that were working on the virus were funded by the US government. So it's a very sensitive issue because the US government actually felt that, hey, we are spending our money and building their technology, which is kind of right in their way. But when you have a global pool of talent, we have to harness that, because that makes it easier. So I think in the future, the US administration will have to work on with China to really build that capability. And I see in the future a lot of Chinese quantum computer companies getting access to the capital. Because right now in China also something strange is happening. The current leadership under Xi Jinping, they are actually battling their companies down. If you've noticed, Alibaba and Tencent, Baidu, they are all underwater right now because they were supposed to be, China has lost $1 trillion in equity in last 1 month because the government is not very favorable towards the technology companies, strangely. And that is another thing that's kind of an opportunity for the US, because if the Chinese government is against their own companies, and the success today is about companies. The success of America is creating companies and building companies like Google and Facebook and Hewlett Packard, right? 70 years ago was born in garage and became one of the largest conglomerate in the world. So there's tremendous potential on both sides. So I think the right answer is that we need the right environment, a collaborative environment, and I see some roadblocks to that, and I see that the field of quantum computing will also see that. And we all know this, that the governments impact businesses, right? We are all impacted. Our lives are impacted by government, whether it is the United States or China or anywhere in the world, Israel or Lebanon. Look at Lebanon today. A lot of smart people, software engineers come from Lebanon and from Israel. So yeah, so I don't know the answer, but I think the future lies more in collaboration and learning from one another. How does it sound?
Good, thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's where we are, friends. So a lot of companies are working on it, and you will see in 2022, 23 applications in banking. JP Morgan Chase is a part of that. You will see other also coming forward. So moving on, friends. So what can I do as a professional? I am a software engineer. I am a business person. I have a background in finance. I heard a lady say that I have nothing to do with, I am a finance lady. The thing is that whether you're a finance or healthcare, friends, these are domains, right? These are domains. Finance industry is the biggest recipient of technology. Healthcare industry is one of the biggest recipients of the technological systems. Technology is just an enabler. It is a problem solver. Some smart people in the world solve problems. So Harvard has an initiative, Harvard Quantum Initiative, and you could be a quantum engineer who can understand the quantum mechanics, electrical, electronic engineering, system engineering, computer science, and build your career towards that. hey, what kind of roles I can perform in quantum computing? Well, you could be an IBM quantum engineer, IBM quantum computing developer. Really? Who else is there? This is just a buzzword? No. MIT has courses designed for it. How much money can I make? Well, ZipRecruiter says that $160,000 is what a median normal salary in this case of quantum computing. All right, so what will it take for me to get started? Well, to get started, you become a part of the community. We all know this, right? So open source communities are there, and there's a community called QISKit. Q is Kit, which means quantum is Kit. Join that. There are many other communities like that all over the world, globally, where you are. Get involved with the quantum club. There's a quantum club. If you type on Google, you'll get that. There are meetup groups in Silicon Valley. There are 28 groups which are very prominent right in the Silicon Valley. So you could be a part of them and just go for an evening, session, chit chat, have a drink with them, talk to them, learn from them, or build your own quantum apps, build your own quantum computer, because it is so nascent that whatever you create will go somewhere, right? Creation is such a wonderful thing that I was talking to Sabir Bhatia, who's the creator of Hotmail. He said, I didn't even know that name will be Hotmail. And I didn't know it would be an email system. We were actually working on something else. I got him for an event that I was hosting in 2012, 10 years ago. But this guy, when he was in 20s, sold his company for $500 million to Bill Gates, the smartest guy on earth. So you never know what the future will bring, right? The future is going to be awesome, and that's what the quantum computers can do. Any questions on how can I use this? Those of you who are not very, are very busy and don't have much time, there are courses from Coursera, and I have actually a slide that I want to show you on Coursera here. Let me just open it. Can you see this, friends? An introduction to quantum computing. I found this course very interesting. Actually, I increased my knowledge on this by taking this course. So it is from St. Petersburg University. Where does that say?
I think we're not seeing your computer right now, but we are seeing you.
So I have to share this. Sorry about that.
Your lecture actually answered my question, so there we go. No Bitcoin conversation to be had now.
Yeah.
Cryptocurrency, I think, that the question that was asked by, I'm trying to remember if it was Giovanni possibly asked it. I can't remember exactly, but the question that was about, technology races and chases itself, and what is the future going to look like? And you look at things like the CD or the DVD, and then now we have, of course, streaming and all of these other things. All the technology as things shift. I think about my world, which is visual expression and creating content to try and explain the world to people. And I'm thinking of quantum computing is a very complicated thing that if you break it down, it's actually not that complicated. But the question is, how will technology, when banking, of course, for example, banking is going to be very concerned about security, and people are going to be very concerned. So you start looking at, are people going to be buying gold? Are people going to be pulling out their cash? What's going to be happening in the finance world? And as quantum computing happens, what are you seeing in terms of trends, in terms of security and security potential breaches, and what people are trying to do to see what they can do to safeguard themselves when quantum computing comes through and can break passwords and codes and things of that? What are you seeing in terms of trends there?
Yeah, what I'm seeing is right now you see, friends, U.S. election, there's a saying that was hacked by China or sorry, Russia, right? These are all political statements, so I'll be very careful in what I speak. But my point is this, that there is a notion, there's a narrative that American companies were hacked by some of the outside forces from Russia or China or wherever, and they actually got into the systems and they actually stole money from the government, state governments. Those of you who know it deeper. And in one case, I will not name the state, one state had to pay ransom. One CEO of a Fortune 500 company was called to the Congress that how can you pay ransom to hackers? He said his pipeline company would have stopped if he didn't pay ransom. But eventually they were able to track that money because it was paid by Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is fully traceable. So you saw that just a month ago, I think this, and that's the future. And future trends, the war, and I wrote actually a book on it. Those of you who like it, read my book, World War III Corona. So World War III biowarfare, I wrote a book which says, hey, in the future, you don't need battle tanks or F-35 planes from Lockheed or Northrop Grumman or drones going and killing Osama bin Laden. You will have viruses. So you will have cyber attacks. So the world is getting more intelligent. You don't need them. We are all knowledge workers. Workers are creating knowledge, and knowledge is creating application. So the biowarfare, nobody knows where corona is coming from, right? There's a lot of discussion. I've also written that in my book. But the exciting thing here is that in the future, a lot of the government systems and businesses will be hacked in the next 2 or 3 years. And quantum computing will come as a solution to that. Because human beings don't shake till somebody completely challenges our status quo, right? Human beings, we don't like change too much, but something will come and solve a problem or disrupt. So I believe that quantum computing will come as a savior to these systems in next 2 3 years. Does it answer your question, Jay? Does it sound interesting?
Yeah, I mean, I see that all the time, industry chasing industry. And it happens across industry, whether it's quantum computing or whether it's filmmaking, whatever it happens to be, industry chases industry.
Yeah, industry chases industry. And yeah, that's the Hegel's theory of dialectics, right? System, antithesis, and a new system will emerge. So the world will go on like this, right? We can go back to dinosaurs, and we can go forward to aliens. Now, Elon Musk is saying that he will take us to Mars. So he actually wants to build a colony on Mars. Jeff Bezos says, take all this pollution from the earth and through the factory, I will create a road to space so that you need to ship your factory, which is polluting the earth, in 6 minutes. The huge factory will be shipped in the space. So that's where we are. So friends, are you able to see this course that I showed you from Coursera? Basics of quantum computing. I like this one because I think this is easy, not very complex, from St. Petersburg State University. Chick, are you able to see my screen, this one?
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
I can see your screen, yes.
The nice thing is that, students, before we talked with everybody here, I was, of course, asking Dr. Sam Foundation if he would be so kind as to maybe teach a course on quantum computing, and he's definitely considering that. So I think that would be certainly a good idea to have him come on board and give us a larger lecture series on this. I think it would be very, very helpful. So certainly if you have that interest, please message me and let me know, because I think this knowledge is only going to be more and more important. And it's always good to learn from someone who actually works within the industry.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jake. I look forward to teaching a course in quantum computing at ITU. So yeah, so coming back, friends, to my original presentation, I hope you can see. If not, please let me know, because we have to deal with our current systems, which are not quantum savvy at this point.
We can see everything. We can see.
So talked about this. Now, some people had a question, hey, Sam, what kind of language do I need to learn? So that's called as quantum computer language, QCL, which is a programming language. And how does the syntax look like? I mean, it looks like pretty similar to C programming and the classical data types that you have in C, you will see here also. And what about the data types? The data types is also pretty similar to the C, which is QReg, a quantum register. That's what they call it. So if you want to dirty your hands, there are some tools and which are already there. I saw one on Udemy that they're actually doing a course on that particular tool on quantum computing. So you can learn that also. So that is the answer on the technology piece of it. Any question on this one? Some ideas, thoughts? If not, we're going to move on to the next. So what I can do for you, right? What is in it for me? WIIFME, right? What is in it for me? So as a company, you know, we are on the learning and training phase. So we help people learn and we help people get jobs. Our company works in the space of latest technologies. I started my career as a project management trainer. I teach at a university for the last 13 years. I've taught at San Jose State. So if you want to learn business analysis, quality assurance, Salesforce, DevOps, data science, artificial intelligence, cloud computing, security, AWS, we have weekend and weekday evening courses. Much like ITU, I could be training there as well. And then our trainers are trained by me. And I'm a very bad teacher, friends. And I hope you saw that. I like to talk, chit chat, because talking is, you can talk for 3 hours, but the question is, what did the person receive? So I like to know more on receiving than just talking. So we do practical case studies and help people get jobs. That's where we are. Any questions on this? And because Jake wanted me to keep this very interactive and engaging, so I thought, you know, I'll answer your questions. So a lot of my references are from here, and I have already sent a copy of the presentation to Jake, and feel free to distribute this to anybody you want, to the entire group of people. If you want to put this on the IQ website, you're welcome. Hey, knowledge dissemination. Knowledge workers create knowledge, share knowledge, and they disseminate knowledge so that everybody can benefit. So there's a course from MIT I found. Normally, MIT courses are very intense and technical, but this one I found interesting on quantum computing fundamentals. Then there's a paper on from McKinsey which talks very hands-on driven paper. I sent you the link. You want to look at it. Now, because all this knowledge, the consulting companies do a good job. They kind of translate that for the business. So Accenture, I found, has one article on quantum computing service, and Accenture actually says that in New York, 200 billion worth of investment is going to happen in the next 3-4 years in quantum computing. So those of you who are in New York, you will see in the finance industry, you will see on the Wall Street. Because imagine in the Wall Street, the trade, the faster the trade can happen, the more money. There's something called nanosecond arbitrage. And what is that nanosecond arbitrage? At Wall Street, where the bull is sitting, there are companies in and around that area. The company that can do a faster trade can make more money because the arbitrage is in seconds. Like we have the arbitrage that America wants to send work to India and get it done cheaper. Likewise, there's arbitrage in time and space at the Wall Street. So I see that the quantum computing will completely disrupt that. And I see that quantum computers will be able to do faster trades for the JP Morgan Chases and the Ameritrade and the Robinhood. I'm sure you saw track Robinhood. Robinhood went IPO 3 days ago, right? And it was $38 a piece, $42. Now it is trading at $60, and it's called as a meme stock. But you know what? It's the new world. In the new world, an average person goes and does trading. So imagine young kids are doing trading on Robinhood. And I see when quantum computing comes in, right now the systems which are very some people, my dad could not open a computer. He would put one hand on one key and the other on the other hand on the other key. He was so slow because 30 years ago, 40 years ago, there was no computer. But look at our kids and look at their kids. So the future is awesome and exciting, and that is all I have to say from my side. And I would love to answer your questions, friends, and make it a chit chat conversation. How do you find the presentation? Is it okay? Bad? Good?
Very, very useful. Does anybody have any questions for our esteemed colleague here? I know people asked throughout the presentation as well, but do any of you have additional questions? This is a very, very good time to ask.
Hi, I'm Paula. I'm sorry. I don't have any question. I just want to say that it's really interesting. I definitely want to study more about it. Really good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being there. I really appreciate it. And Quinny, and I want to say this, even if you're not very deep into technology and cannot write a code, a lot of technology has people you need in the business side. For example, a business analyst. A business analyst, could be working in finance. I heard a lady say, I have nothing to do with technology, I'm a financial analyst. So you're already analyzing systems financially, right? And that system has some software. Today, there's no company which doesn't have a software. Maybe they're running on ERP, Oracle, or SAP, or Workday. We don't know what that software is. But every industry has applications. So the interesting thing about quantum computing is that it will find itself into all these companies and domains. You don't have to worry about it. You have to be just on the learning side of it so that you can build a career with it. And I like to tell my students all the time that, hey, learn something which is new because it is easy. Not many people are there. If you go and tell your company, people say, oh, yeah, he's right. Worse is when it becomes mainstream and everybody knows it, and then you say one word and they say, no, you are wrong. So where do you want to be? It's your choice. I would like to answer more questions and ideas and thoughts. And if you have something exciting about quantum computing, tell us. And a project that you're working on, or something you read, or something you think is really worth noting. Tell us. I'm sure some of you have that.
I'm just curious about. Sorry, go ahead, please. Sorry.
Yeah, I was having a question. I was just gonna say, yeah, this is a very good experience for me because I usually don't learn that much about computing. But my boyfriend's actually in cybersecurity, so he used to tell me, and I think this kind of clarify a little bit more for me, so I probably can understand a bit more what he's talking to me as well. So yeah, thank you for that. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, next time you tell your boyfriend, you know what? I don't have something to tell you. I know you're a cybersecurity expert, but quantum computing is going to take away your job. And tell him that he'll get engaged.
Yeah, I'll definitely tell him that.
And tell him all the emails and all the bank accounts and all the iPhone codes will be easily broken in seconds by quantum computing.
Yeah. Quantum computing security is the future, it sounds like.
Yeah, it sounds like the quantum computing will come as a savior when the companies and businesses and governments are stuck with the cybersecurity threat that we are experiencing
maybe
today.
Maybe her boyfriend can pivot and then take his cybersecurity knowledge and go into quantum computing security.
Yeah,
Probably. Yeah, we're actually right now in Vegas. He's attending DEF CON. So yeah, probably they have something about quantum computing in there too. They have a booklet for the villages they have in there.
Javier, did you have a question as well?
Yeah. So in terms of energy consumption, does this isn't similar to in terms of computing? Well, computing power cannot be compared to the current processing, but how is this energy consumption of this system, as well as why this looks so different? Why do you need so much complicated hardware for this to work?
See, the truth is that 80% of the research which is happening right now in quantum computing, my friend, is happening in the space of hardware. Because the thing is that once you solve the hardware problem, then only you can solve the software and other problems. And there are talks about even superconductivity, right? Because like you said, hey, the current data systems use a lot of energy, and Google has their data center floating in the ocean because it takes so much energy. So where will that energy come from, and is it really good for the environment? That's the indirect question that I sense in your statement. And I see that a lot of this technology will also find expression in some other technologies that will come in the future. For example, superconductivity. You can conduct at normal ambient temperature a lot of work which now needs to be done in minus 270 degrees, or positive hot temperature. So you're right, when you need data systems to perform humongous tasks, that they will take energy, and energy or matter, they, as per Einstein's equation, keeps changing form. So where will that come from? Well, it will come from within our resources. Will it be more intelligent? Of course, I think it will be more intelligent. We already have that, right? Look at Biden announcing, President Biden said in 2030, America will have only electric cars, right? So 10 years ago, 5 years ago, when I went to Tesla factory, one of my friends who worked in Tesla said, you know, Sam, this guy talks a lot, but I don't think electric cars will replace the existing cars. But look at this today. Electric cars right now are about 4% of the total cars. In America, when President Biden announced by 2030, America will be more electric cars than the normal cars. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, we may not have all the answers at this point, but the future will create those options, right? Who knew that supercomputer that was sitting inside IBM or NASA 40 years ago could be in one chip, right? Inside one chip, which is not even visible to the naked eye. Who knew it? If you told them, hey, all this big rooms that you have, I'll convert that into something that you cannot even see, people will not have believed it. 40 years ago, 50 years ago. Does it sound right? What do you think?
So in maybe a couple of years, we will see current processing architectures as we see related to relationship to the quantum computing units, as we see today, floppy disks or storage units.
Yeah. I mean, floppy. Do we really see floppy disk? You will not believe this. When I used to make a presentation, I used to have a floppy disk. You guys are very lucky. I think you guys started the USBs. I actually had a black color disk, and I would worry so much that what if it doesn't insert properly into my system? I even remember making transparencies for my lectures. So they were plastic transparencies. I would create them and I would put them on a machine, and that machine would display on a projector. I'm sure Jake has also done that. I worked on some of the COBOL programs in 1980s and 90s. COBOL was the language first I learned, you know, Fortran, COBOL, Pascal, that's what I still remember. Now I have this presentation I'm doing is from a Google Drive. I didn't even, you know, I just went on Google Drive, opened a slide and created everything and just shared with everybody. I didn't go anywhere, no device. So cooling devices, sure, I think so. And I also think that they may not need so much of energy that we see today, right? I understand it is a bottleneck today. Even today, data centers are, and that's why cloud is good. But you might say, hey, cloud is not a solution because it is like taking everybody's problem and creating a one bigger problem. And I see that, understand that. But I think that the systems will get more intelligent, and so will we. So Homo sapiens will also become more intelligent, right, and harness the power of machines. I believe so.
I always think about backing up and storage and making sure that we have redundancy, safeguarding what we have, but making sure that we have ability to play and access what we've saved, and that's a big issue as well. Okay, is it possible to stop sharing so we can take a picture with you? I love to have the students take a picture with the speaker. So everyone, please turn on your cameras.
Can I ask a final question?
Oh, we can ask more questions. I just want us to be able to take a picture first, though. Let's have Dr.Sam Swapn maybe stop sharing his screen so we can take a side-by-side picture with him.
Sure, sir. So will you send this picture to everybody, Jake, before I do that, including me?
Will I what?
Will you send this picture to everybody in the group?
Will I send the picture to everybody in the group? Probably not send it in the group, but I will easily be able to send you one, and I will put one for everybody that will probably be posted on social media. So let's see if we you're still sharing your screen though, I think.
No, I stopped sharing.
Oh, there we go. There we go. All right. Let me see here. Okay, everybody, you ready? I'm gonna count backwards from 3. You ready? 3. Hold on. 2, 1. There we go. All right, we had another question, so we do have our final question. Go ahead, please ask your question.
Yeah, so I was wondering, what are your thoughts on, well, if indeed quantum computing comes as fast as you say it will, obviously many other countries in the world, third world countries, are not anywhere near there. So those security issues, even if they can be resolved in the first world countries fairly soon, don't you think there's a big, because of this big difference, there's a big problem looming over us that a bank in a third world country would be hacked instantly, for example, or something along those lines, along the security problem lines?
I mean, the vulnerabilities of course, going to be there, right? Because when a third world country does not have the resources to really protect themselves from a cyber threat, their systems can be hacked. But look at the fear right now. The fear is not in the third world. The fear is in the first world. The first world countries like the United States today has the biggest fear that any of their system could be hacked, right? The Federal Reserve has this pressure. Wall Street companies, Ameritrade, Scottrade, Robinhood, there's so many companies, retail banks, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo Bank. They are a lot of information you're not hearing, but if you go deeper, and you are all smart guys, you go into the dark web and not just Google web. A lot of stuff is going on there. I gave you an example. A state government of the United States their system was hacked and money was taken out from their account. And they were asked to pay a ransom in Bitcoin, and they paid that ransom to get their state account back. So yes, vulnerabilities in terms of security threats will be created all over the world. They are already being created as we speak, and no country is an exception. Some people sitting in countries, I don't want to name them, they think they are the smartest, but even their systems will be hacked. What do you think? FBI is going to sit quiet and watch? They're going to do something about it. They have smarter people on both sides. So it's a global threat of security today as we speak, and the most impacted are the banks, right? And banks, I say there are two most important things in the world. One is your heart, which is your health. And the second is your pocket, right? Which is your wallet. So health and finance. These are the two industries that really impact humans. And I see both are, and money impacts directly and immediately. Because, hey, when you have no money, how will you pay your mortgage? How will you pay your car bills? And how will the lady afford with her boyfriend her last Vegas trip? So that's the point. If you talk about specifically quantum computing, it offers some solutions. At this point, it may be very, very nascent to talk about it, but the future will bring those options to us. How does it sound? Does it answer your question a little bit, or any corollary?
Well, I don't have any knowledge of quantum computing, so it's very vague and abstract for me. So I guess so.
Yeah. So, I mean, the security is going to be more and more concerned. Think about it. The more online systems we have, the more is the issue of security, right? Initially, we would have a security guard in our company's office, right? In our university, in our bank. Now that security guard is actually a security system because the physical. Who would imagine 3 or 5 years ago that what Jake just did? He took a picture of everybody, in a digital format. 3 years ago, nobody could have imagined this happens. But Corona created that necessity, right? That people started working from home, and Zoom stock, by the way, went crazy, right? So we all adapt to what are the changes happening around us, and I see that more and more adaptation happening on the security side because the governments are not safe today. The governments will be more vulnerable tomorrow.
So, Dr. Sam, Swapna, thank you so much for being here tonight. I actually think that if you let us have more time with you, we'll be here until 6 in the morning. You have so much knowledge. You have so much knowledge to impart on all of us. I really want to give you a huge, hearty thank you for being here. What you've talked about has been quite fascinating. I know that you've brought a lot of questions to my mind, things that I've been very curious about, and definitely will explore it further. And I know that the students feel the same way because I can see from the questions that are being asked, this is just the tip of an understanding of what's going on, and we should really be aware of what's going on. Thank you so much for being here with us.
I really appreciate Jake for having me today for this wonderful session. And I'm really honored to be in front of such august students who are very curious. And like Steve Jobs said, stay hungry, stay foolish. So that's where knowledge happens, on the cusp of intersection of creativity and excitement. So I want to leave this thanking all the students and everybody. And I left my email and phone number also. So I'm always very, very happy and very excited to share what I have and learn from you. When I teach, I learn at the same time. So learning is a continuous process, and I'm a lifelong learner. Thanks for having me.
We're honored to be new friends of yours. So thank you so very much for bringing us into your quantum physics, your quantum computing family, and spending time with us tonight. We know you have a lot of things you can do on Saturday than spend time with us, and we are honored that you did spend the time with us. Thank you very much, and have a beautiful evening. Thank you.